Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday to you on this May 27th, 2025. I have all your stories for your rush hour ride to work following a very busy Memorial Day weekend. I've got some stories of which celebrities won a popcorn eating contest and which one got busted for a DUI. Plus, Love is Blind baby has been announced, or pregnancy at least, and we'll get into who that is. Also, the French slap heard round du monde, as it were. The French president says, hey, we were just joshing around. So we'll talk about that. Then some Laura Owens tea as she prepares for the week ahead. She's about to be arraigned with 7 felony charges. Oh, doesn't that sound good? After faking being pregnant with Bachelor Clayton Eckert's babies, twins. And then we've got the Taylor Swift source. More information coming out about Taylor Swift's father and what he did to make sure his daughter's on the right side of history. This involving the Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni court case that's going to be starting March of 2026. Although right now, I'm wondering if this thing's not going to settle soon because it's getting ugly out there. And then we'll talk about some sad stuff. And by that, I mean the state of the world and what's going on with the wars abroad. All right. All these stories and more happening right now on The Rush. So why don't we get into this? Mary Lou Retton. Oh, Mary Lou, right? She won gold for the all-around gymnast in, I think, the mid-1980s. Well, arrested for a DUI in Marion County. As you guys might remember, we covered Mary Lou last year. She needed a GoFundMe after getting pneumonia. And that just goes to show the poor state of healthcare in our country. You win a gold medal and then you need to crowdfund when you get a dirty lung? Come on, and I don't blame Mary Lou for that. Although maybe that pneumonia led to her being a little bit of a lightweight. Either way, you can't drive drunk. And she, I guess, has learned that lesson. Although, if anyone can pass a DUI checkpoint, you would think it would be a gymnast, right? They have good balance. I guess not here. All right. Well, as you guys know, we've become a All-American Rejects channel the last couple of weeks. And the news is just so slow. There's a reason why the Rush Hour podcast does so well. We are just weeks ahead of mainstream media, but they're finally picking up on the craze known as All-American Rejects.
Where did this idea for a house party tour come about?
The idea it was born out of just a real pure, intentional moment of like, let's go have fun and get back to the way we started when we started touring with this band in a van. 30 feet.
Yeah, we're sick of performing in front of corporate audiences who suck, and we'd rather perform for free in front of a bunch of drunk, moms that just want to have fun.
Feet away up on an ivory tower, it's hard to connect to an audience, and this was a way to kind of embrace that spirit again.
And how much do the neighbors come into consideration? Because I imagine you can't play too late. You might get the cops called on you.
Well, we did in Mizzou. We got the cops called on us. It was their graduation day, just by the fates.
The cops just shut us down. Sorry, y'all. We just got kicked off campus. So we can play one more song.
I imagine, I'm just thinking roughly the age that police officer could have been, right? Because your music for me was very present in my mid-20s. I asked Boris, he said it was more high school for him.
Yeah,
that's our age difference here. Yeah. But it was at a really important time in our lives that we were hearing a lot of you. And I wonder for that police officer, I bet he was too.
He was a baby. He was a baby. Oh, it was awesome. He was just, he didn't even have I don't even think the man had facial hair. God bless him.
Yeah, could you imagine? You're like, my dad listens to you guys, and they told me I got to shut you down. You can play one more song, It's gotta be, I could never be a cop. I could never tell other people what to do. I'd be like, all right, play all night. What do I care? Live your lives. It's music. What are we doing out here, Well, from free All-American Rejects concerts to free Chipotle for life, I don't know if my bathroom could handle such an offer.
I did some tweet about Chipotle, and they sent me a Chipotle black card.
Wow.
I would go into a Chipotle, and I'd order, and I'd give them the card, and they'd be like, whoa, I've never seen this. And they would just run it to the machine, and they're like, it's all free. And they're like, here, I ate for free at Chipotle for years. I was making lots of money on The Office, but I had a free Chipotle card.
again, this sounds like one of those deals you make with the devil. I just can't imagine it's good for your health to eat anywhere for free for that long. Although, if I had to, I would say I would probably get the chicken or steak on a salad and go light on the rice. That's all I could say. If you happen to be out there winning a free Chipotle card, hey, Chipotle, you want to amuse me? I got one, 7 miles down the road. So be my guest if you want to send a free card. My wife would love it, although I can't imagine it would help our, personal lives. Being sort of foie gras into the world of double stuffed burritos. All right, how about this story? Brazilian nun goes viral after unexpected beatboxing on a Catholic TV channel. Of course, this takes place in Brazil because I know no nun in the U.S. is as cool as this one right here. If you're just listening to the audio only, they are dressed very much like standard nun, skirts to the ankles, the white, pilgrim hat, the whole 9 yards. But keep your eyes on the priest because he's also footloose and free too. Here it comes. Yo, here we go. Everybody wanna go Brazil in the house on a Tuesday morning, and the priest gonna do it with her right now. Yo, priest with the chain gonna give it to you nice. Anyway, I'm telling you right now, the Brazilians just have so much style. Even the nuns and the priests know how to do it down there in Brazil. So no comments on any other Brazilian, issues going on of the wax variety. Okay. World champion eater Joey Chestnut says on Bigger and Butter, beats his own popcorn eating record. And I'm not going to play the video for you guys because maybe you don't want to lose your breakfast here. But I got to tell you what, if anybody has ever sat next to me in a movie theater, I might be able to beat Joey Chestnut when it comes to eating popcorn. But the only way I could beat him in a popcorn eating contest is if it's before the movie starts. There's something about eating popcorn before a movie starts. I don't think I've ever actually ate popcorn once the movie has begun. You just can't, you get there before, and next thing you know, your hands are covered in butter and you got nothing left. Now, people have offered their advice on what to put in popcorn. If you are going to sort of beef up your popcorn at the movies, some people say Reese's Pieces. Some crazy cats will say put Skittles in it. I mean, live your life. Do whatever you want. I'm just a butter guy, but I wouldn't, if I found a rogue Reese's Pieces or even a rogue peanut butter cup for all I care, I wouldn't turn it away, that's for sure. I'd be a, Reese's Pieces orphanage in my belly. All right, so either way, how much did he actually eat is the question. He beat his own record set 3 years ago, and he downed 32 servings of 24-ounce popcorn in 8 minutes. So that is disgusting. But hey, that's the United States of America right there. That's what we live for. That is the one thing we are good at, is just stuffing our faces with food. All right, well, Love is Blind has a big update. Lauren and Cameron, says it's been a long time coming, announced that their first baby is due. Of course, one of the few success stories from Love is Blind, which really, answers the question, love isn't blind. Two good-looking people. Oh, love is blind. Yeah, well, they just so have. Luckily, the casting director wasn't. They don't cast any crazy people, right? Don't get me wrong, some are crazy, but, for the most part, they're just like shaking the deck with a bunch of 8s and 9s, and out comes a few relationships. In this case, maybe even a baby. So good for them. Congratulations. Now, there's been a couple babies from Love is Blind. I'm just saying. I think you'd have better success. There was this tweet where someone was like, I spent $1,000 on Tinder Premium and I didn't get one match. What should I do differently? And my thought was, take that $1,000 and literally just buy drinks for women at the bar, right? I mean, buy 100 drinks. You're bound to meet with someone you like, right? Maybe not. I don't know. Buy him popcorn. Joey Chestnuts will join you. Well, French President Macron gets slapped in the face. We covered this yesterday. Gets slapped in the face. I'm not going to share the video again, but there's the moment. By his wife, mind you. And some are saying, well, she groomed him from the early age. And it's a whole story. I'm not saying it's cultural. I'm not getting into the French, right? I'm not even commenting on it. But either way, he has issued a response, waving off the face shove his his wife gave him earlier with a statement to reporters saying, "We are bickering and joking with my wife, and a video becomes a sort of geoplanetary catastrophe." Macron says. So he says it was just them bickering and joking. I don't know. People can think of it what they want, but he's allowed to leave the relationship if he doesn't want to bicker. But it sounds like they're having a perfectly boisterous conversation. I mean, look, the French, they like to talk with their hands. They just, sometimes that when it hits your chin, the conversation's over. All right, well, I've got a Justice for Clayton update, Clayton Eckerd, and I've also got some thoughts on Taylor Swift and her father being the source. It has now traveled the globe and back, as the Sun has reported on it. I've got this coming for you next. Well, as you guys know, Bachelor Clayton's, crazy lady. I mean, can I call her a crazy lady at this point? She is being charged with 7 counts of felonies, ranging from perjury to faking medical, all these other things. Well, her arraignment is this Thursday. Now, that's the day I'll be flying to Las Vegas for Reality Steve's 90th birthday party or something like that. So I'll be over there, but I'll either have this streaming live on my channel or I'm going to try to get someone to cover it. But this will happen on Thursday, and there's going to be a lot to get into. Now, as far as tea is concerned regarding Laura Owens, I'm hesitant to share it right now, but I'm going to let you know. This is going to piss off a lot of you guys. I'm going to share it on Patreon today. I've received information, and you guys know I'm pretty solid on my information I'm getting in this case. We had information coming from the county prosecutor's office that she was going to get charged something like 8 months before she did. So you can, trust me that I know a thing or two about what's going on with this case. I wish I had this sort of insider information when it came to like stock buying and things like that, but unfortunately I just have it for something that's, really not that big of a deal. But either way, I will share on today's Patreon the new tea that I have involving the documentary that may or may not be made about this. A documentary I very much hope to be an active part of. And anyway, I promise you I'll get that information to you by Thursday if you don't get it early on the Patreon, patreon.com/Dave Neal. I'll be live at 11 a.m. or so today Central Time to discuss that. But we'll have a lot more to talk about. When she gets arraigned, that's essentially the formal way of them saying, here's what we charged you with and here's the evidence that we used to get there. Maybe we'll, due to Freedom of Information Act request, we'll be able to get some of that information, what they have on her. But not only what they have on her, what they might have on her lawyer. So the question was asked, is Gingy scared about Laura's indictment? Yes. If Rachel Mitchell, county prosecutor, finds incriminating evidence against Gingras on Laura's devices, they're required to give the evidence to law enforcement or the bar guy. Now, you know what's funny about this is you might remember I actually received an email from this douchebag right here where he tried to tell me that he actually makes other people homeless. Now, I don't want him to be homeless. Why? Because I'm not a piece of shit human like he is. But, although he does have nice calf muscles, I'll give him that. He's got those nice Gen X calf muscles there. Because he's had to do a lot of heavy lifting with some of the lies that they're telling in this case. But either way, it would just be so ironic if he actually gets in trouble after trying to, rough and tumble us and bully us into sort of, I guess, dropping our coverage of the case. We still stand and we are still covering it. So either way, there's that story. Updates as they come this week. All right. Well, Sky News Australia, which is where I go to get my Australian news, is giving some new tea on the Taylor Swift subpoena as Justin Baldoni dropped the subpoena of Taylor Swift, saying they're cooperating. We don't need the subpoena. But the question is, who from Taylor Swift's camp is cooperating? Well, the first to break it was Candace Owens, and it has all been confirmed by other sources. But here we have the Sky News Australia getting a word of this story.
His legal team has retracted their Taylor Swift subpoena in the legal fight with Blake Lively. Kinsey, why would they do that? Why would Baldoni's legal team let Taylor Swift off the hook?
I'll tell you why, because Taylor Swift's father, Scott Swift, willingly provided the information that they were looking for as part of a deal to prevent his daughter from any further involvement with the Blake versus Justin drama. So they had to agree to withdraw their subpoena, and it's Taylor's father that stepped in and gave them the requested information. Now, he also provided Justin Baldoni's team with the bombshell claim that Blake Lively threatened to leak his daughter's text messages if Taylor did not publicly support her. This gives us exactly the perfect idea of how vicious this truly has become behind the scenes.
Absolutely vicious. And if that's
absolutely vicious, no. Listen, I mean, there's just something about the Australian news. By the way, no offense to their guest here, but why can't they get your boy on the show? Come on.
It's accurate. If her father has done that, then that friendship isn't just a little bit under strain. It's well and truly done and dusted. If Taylor Swift is being threatened with having years of her private text messages released, that's pretty down and dirty.
It's down and dirty indeed. Now listen, I'm not one to pour water on this fire here, but I do wonder what it looks like in the email that they supposedly have. I imagine Blake Lively, I mean, I'm not saying it's not extortion, but I imagine she worded it in a way where she said, Taylor, if you don't publicly support me, then this thing's not going to end, which means they're going to, subpoena my text messages and I'm going to have to share what you have. Like, I'm sure she made it seem as if my hands are tied, Taylor. Either you help me and we get this thing quashed or they're going to come after me. Now, that's still wrong because it's very clear looking back at Blake Lively and how she summoned her dragons and spoke of, Taylor and Ryan Reynolds, that she was strong-arming Justin Baldoni. But either way, the way the wording happens, whether it's between her or her lawyer, will be very interesting regardless.
Yeah, and Scott has defended her so much. Her father, Taylor Swift's father, is a savvy man. He financed her entire career coming up. He has a lot to lose. If Taylor's reputation takes a hit because of Blake, that's years and money down the drain that he's sacrificed. So he is going to stand up and try to protect his daughter.
I do wonder, though, whether some damaging text messages over the years may be leaked out if the Blake Lively side wants to retaliate. I mean, this is just this battle. It was over nothing. They started a fight over something that they should have just allowed to die down. The story would have been done in a week or two of Blake Lively being rather unpleasant instead of being America's golden girl. And now it's this massive legal fight that is going to absolutely drain their resources and completely damage their reputations.
Yeah, so there it is. Good summation there by Sky News Australia. It's good to see that our friends across the globe are following this as closely as we are. And as updates come, we'll be here to give them to you. But that's it for your Baldoni Lively coverage right now. But hold on, we got a lot of other good stuff to get into. What is that? Are we starting a new World War III with Russia? Well, I don't know. Are we? I mean, who the hell knows at this point? Although the Russian stock market had a rough couple of days after Donald Trump decided to speak out against Russia now.
President Trump has given that very rare direct rebuke of Vladimir Putin, with the Kremlin suggesting President Trump is emotionally overloaded.
And I'm not happy with what Putin's doing.
On this Memorial Day weekend in America, President Trump is speaking out about the war overseas, criticizing Russia for unleashing the largest single aerial attack against Ukraine since the start of that war.
We're in the middle of talking and he's shooting rockets into Kiev and other cities. I don't like it at all.
By the way, no one disagrees with Trump. It's just hilarious to me, sadly, that he thought he could do something, right? That he thought he was just going to be able to say, hey, knock it off, right? He said, as soon as I'm president, they're just going to stop because the art of the deal. And what does Putin do? He kind of like kicks the can down the road. He tells Trump, yeah, of course. Yeah, no way. And, in the background, he's just pushing the button to just keep sending missiles. Listen, Putin's a bad guy. He's putting his own own population through the meat grinder, right? More Russians have died than Ukrainians. The soldier, I mean, it's devastating. And when you think about who's dying, these are 18-year-old boys. These are young men that are dying. Obviously, women and children innocently as well. And when you talk about the tragedies of war, you know, there's a lot of issues out there where you go, what can we do as, you know, Americans to educate ourselves so we at least are on the same page of what side we want to be on. Now, when it comes to supporting Russia, I feel like half the country's brainwashed and they'd rather support Russia than like a Democrat or something. And what we need to remember is that most people in the United States are trying the best with the information they have. And, you know, not everybody, but most people are trying their best. And we need to know that if we're going to be fighting politically with the left versus the right, middle class versus that, you know, Dems, Republicans, just remember, everyone does want the best, which is a safe country where we can all thrive. I just personally believe, through all of the information I've acquired in my time on this earth, that we are not heading in that right direction, that we're dividing each other by fear. And it's so funny that Trump says he just thinks he can strong arm a solution. And now he's like, I don't like what I'm seeing at all over there. And it's like, well, welcome to the club. Yeah, it turns out you're pro-Ukraine. And who shouldn't, you know, the whole world should be helping assist Ukraine in defeating a tyrant like Putin right now. All right, let's move it on to another story here. Senator Ron Johnson says he has enough Republican Senate support to reject Trump's big, beautiful bill. This will be a big, beautiful problem if the Republicans no longer want to stick together, which I always say, like, do what's right for yourself. The Republicans that vote on this bill, that's going to add trillions of dollars in debt and, you know, take away so many social safety nets for people, they'll never get voted into office again. But will they still do it? Have a listen.
We're out of time, but I'm just wondering if you could just give me a number. How many other Republican senators do you think share your concerns and are willing to make major changes to this bill?
I think we have enough to stop the process until the president gets serious about spending reduction and reducing the deficit.
Senator Ron Johnson, always a pleasure. Thank you.
So they think they got all these Republicans that are going to fix the bill, but what are you going to do? You know, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Either you raise taxes on the ultra wealthy, which they're not going to do, or you go into greater debt, which would be really bad because Republicans are supposed to not like debt. Or, you know, you cut more, you know, like I said, you know, health care for the poor and the elderly. Which one is it going to be? All right, here is 60 Minutes Scott Pelley issuing a chilling warning about Trump's attack on the Constitution. Have a listen.
But in this moment, this morning, our sacred rule of law is under attack. Journalism is under attack. Universities are under attack. Freedom of speech is under attack, and insidious fear is reaching through our schools, our businesses, our homes, and into our private thoughts.
Now, it's true. And again, not to beat a dead horse here, but isn't the Republican Party supposed to love the First Amendment, right? Our right to say everything. They love the Second Amendment, you know, and the First Amendment, it seems that, you know, you need to learn how to defend it when it's something that you might not agree with, right? Like I defend other people's First Amendment rights to say whatever the hell they want, you know, within reason, without hurting other people and this and that. But, you know, there's some limitations to it, which we all know. But now we're seeing, you know, the government take funding away from institutions that they disagree with ideologically. And again, it's going to be like, well, what side do people want to be on? You know, that's what it's going to come down to. All right. Chilling story to get into involving Gaza. And I can understand why people would want to tune away right now. A blaze was this video I'm going to share. In fact, there isn't much to share in the video, but I will read the bio from the CBS Mornings, or the description. At least 52 people have been killed, according to officials with Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry. Hamas is the terrorist organization that runs Gaza, right? The Palestine. After a day of heavy Israel strikes in Gaza, some aid has begun to trickle into the territory after a nearly 3-month Israeli blockade, but experts say it's not enough. Now, this is horrifying. It is a silhouette video of a 5-year-old child limping past flames. Now, she ends up surviving this, but several of her siblings do not. It is such a tragic story playing out.
As people burned inside the Fahmy al-Jargawi school, these men, desperate, tried to break in to help. At least 36 people died, many women and children, charred in fires that swept through classrooms turned living spaces, according to Gaza's Hamas-run civil defense. Israel said the school also housed a Hamas command and control center. One blaze silhouetted the image of this child limping past flames. Miraculously, she survived. 8-year-old Ward al-Sheikh Khalil. Her father clings to life, but her mother and 6 brothers and sisters burned to death.
6 brothers and sisters and her mother burned to death. And, you know, I actually watched an interview over the weekend with Miss Rachel. She, of course, has been accused of being Hamas funded. Absolutely crazy, right? And she's, you know, donated $1 million to try to help feed kids. And she's helping these kids in these war-torn areas. And she said one of the most chilling images she saw was actually of a child who just sat there shaking because the child was processing in real time their world changing. Now, this other story, all this just happened the last couple of days. A Palestinian doctor lost 9 of her 10 children in an Israeli missile strike. The only reason she wasn't part of that tragic event was because she was actually out in the field helping other children. She was, you know, she's a doctor. She was helping other children and then comes home and 9 of her 10 passed. Her husband and 1 remaining child are in critical condition. This is a lot to talk about, but these stories are important to continue to highlight as channels like mine get, you know, people say, oh, this is super dangerous. The sort of perspective Dave has, right? Super dangerous. Does anyone listening here think this is dangerous for someone like me to be addressing this and saying, we cannot stand for the brutality that's going on? We've seen multiple European countries and Australia and others come together, not just the UN, but countries coming together saying this is wrong. In fact, my biggest fear is that the media we consume here in the United States is making it so we are the last to come together. We are the last to support the ending of this senseless war. I fear we are already too late. They say 50,000 people have died, something like 80% of them innocent women and children. It's hard to know. And then on one side, they say, well, there was a command center there. Well, what are you supposed to do? Blow up the whole area? Some people will tell you to do that. We have congressmen in the United States of America saying they need to get out the nukes and just destroy it all. And that's just a sad, grim way to look at what's going on. 5-year-old girl's remarkable escape. So we already showed with you the girl. And again, just for those watching on the YouTube, here it is. Just the face of someone whose life has just completely changed. And now, those that want to look at this cynically will say, oh, they're, you know, I'm not accusing people of saying they're crisis actors, but they'll say, oh, they're making the situation worse than it is. No, this is a daily, and again, I mean, you know, it's sad for me to say, oh, well, you know, it's so hard to see these images on TikTok. It makes me feel a certain way. It should. She says, I walked through the fire all by myself. As she continues to tell her story here.
Her brothers and her 3 sisters were killed.
The rubble fell on them. And there she is, 5 years old. So that's what we're working against. That's what's going on out there. We're not a crazy channel. Our viewpoints aren't radical. Our viewpoints, I believe, are the same viewpoints most people have. And I cling to the idea that most people have these viewpoints. Viewpoints that we are all humans and we deserve better. We deserve to live in a world where we, you know, remind each other of how compassionate we can be and how graceful we can be. I shared this clip yesterday on my Instagram. The original clip's already gone, but it was a clip where this guy, you know, comes to the United States, has a bunch of kids, comes here in high school as an exchange student, has a bunch of kids, forgets one paper he was supposed to sign 10 years ago. And because of that, they're in the process of deporting him. His whole family's American. He's spent his whole adult life here. And this is the response I get from someone in my audience. He should have filled out the form. In 10 years, he had time to fill out a form. And my response was, you're right, Carol, F him, obviously being sarcastic. Have we gone mad? The question I have for people out there. Have we gone mad? As I talk to you in the audience. Have we lost our dang mind? I believe that we still have compassion in our bones. I believe we still have grace for those that we agree with, for those that we disagree with, for our supporters, for our haters. And I believe we are not dangerous for any reason other than the danger is people coming together and fighting these powers that want to divide us through fear. No fear here. It's all love. It'll always be all love. And we're going to continue to share that love. We'll see you this afternoon. I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.